Hey, this is Bill. Welcome back to the channel. Quick thing before we start. This one is a bit special. The Odyssey is in cinemas again, so everybody is suddenly talking about it. And it is worth talking about because most people have the wrong idea about what it is. They think it is a monster story, a man, a boat, and some sea creatures. The monsters are about a third of it. The rest is politics. A kingdom with no king, a queen under siege, and an heir marked for assassination. It is a 3,000-year-old story about what happens to power when the strong man leaves. It is far too big for one video, so we are doing it in 3. This is part 1. And the strangest part is right at the start. The hero did not want to go to war. He tried to get out of it by pretending to be completely insane. It did not work, and it cost him 20 years and his entire kingdom. This is Odysseus, king of Ithaca, a small rocky island off the west coast of Greece. It was not a rich kingdom, mostly goats, rocks, and more goats. The other Greek kings were famous for being strong, or rich, or both. Odysseus was famous for being clever, specifically for being sneaky. The poem calls him Polytropos, the man of many turns. It means twisty. It is not entirely a compliment. The war starts with a woman named Helen and a very long queue. Every important man in Greece wanted to marry her, which is a political problem. Choose one, and the other 40 go to war over it. Odysseus solved it. He always solves it. That turns out to be the problem. Make them all swear an oath first. Whoever she picks, everyone else defends him. That is a mutual defense pact. He invented one 3,000 years before anyone had a word for it. It worked perfectly. Helen picked a king called Menelaus. Everyone went home. Odysseus did not even want Helen. He asked to be paid in a different bride. He wanted Penelope. He got her. They had a son called Telemachus. For about a year, everything was completely fine. Then Helen left with a prince from Troy, and the pact came due. Every king in Greece was now legally obliged to go to war, including the man who wrote the pact. This is the joke the whole poem is built on. His own cleverness is the trap. There was one other problem, a prophecy. If Odysseus went to Troy, he would come home after 20 years, alone, with none of his men, on a stranger's ship. So he decided he simply would not go, and he went with the oldest excuse available. He pretended to be mad. When the recruiters arrived, they found the king out in his field. He had yoked an ox and a donkey to the same plough, which makes no sense at all, and he was walking up and down sowing his field with salt. Nothing grows in salt. That was rather the point. One of the recruiters, a man called Palamedes, did not buy it for a second. So he went into the house and picked up the baby and put Telemachus down on the dirt, directly in front of the plough. A genuinely mad man keeps plowing. Odysseus swerved. Caught, he went to war. And then he immediately pulled the same trick on somebody else. Achilles was the best fighter in Greece, and his mother had hidden him in a dress. Odysseus turned up as a merchant with jewelry, mirrors, and one spear left on the end of the table. Then he had a war trumpet blown outside the door. Every girl ran. One person grabbed the spear. Achilles went to war too, and died there. Now Odysseus is the hero of this story. He is also not a nice man. He never forgave Palamedes for putting his baby in front of that plough. So he buried gold in Palamedes' tent and forged a letter from the enemy saying he had been bought. They found the gold. They stoned him to death for it. The Greeks called this cleverness. It is worth remembering what it actually was. Then came the war itself. It lasted 10 years. Quick note, that war is a different poem. That one is the Iliad. The Odyssey starts after all of that is already over. 10 years of 2 armies staring at a very good wall. Until Odysseus had his most famous idea. Build a giant wooden horse, hide inside it, pretend to sail away. Honesty note, the horse is barely in the Iliad at all. It gets a passing mention in the Odyssey, and a Roman poet tells it properly much later. The Trojans pulled it inside their own walls themselves. That night the war ended badly for everyone inside Troy. The Greeks did things in that city that made the gods genuinely angry, which matters, because the gods control the sea and the Greeks had to sail home. Here is the thing about that journey home. Troy to Ithaca is about 600 miles. For a Bronze Age ship, a couple of weeks. It took him 10 years. And the first disaster was entirely his own fault. He stopped at a town called Ismarus and raided it. No reason, just loot. He told everyone to get back on the ships. They stayed on the beach to drink the wine. The locals came back on horses. 72 of his men died on that beach. 6 men from every single ship before the story has properly started. Then a storm blew them off the map for 9 days. They landed somewhere with very friendly people and a very strange fruit. The Lotus Eaters did not attack anybody. They offered lunch. Anyone who ate it simply stopped wanting to go home. Not dead, not asleep, just completely fine with staying there forever. Odysseus had to drag them back and tie them under the benches while they cried. There is a real plant behind this. Ziziphus lotus, a North African shrub with a sweet, sedating fruit. Probably not magic amnesia. Probably enough to start a rumor that lasted 3,000 years. Then they found a cave full of cheese and made a very bad decision. The crew said take the cheese and run. Odysseus wanted to meet the owner. The owner was Polyphemus, one eye, enormous, son of the god of the sea. He rolled a boulder over the door and ate 2 of the men that evening. Nobody could move that boulder except him, so killing him meant dying in there. So Odysseus got him extremely drunk on very strong wine. And when the giant asked his name, he said nobody. Then they heated a sharpened stake in the fire and put out his eye. The other giants heard the screaming and shouted, "Who is hurting you?" He shouted back, "Nobody is hurting me." So they all went home. In the morning, the blind giant felt the back of every sheep on the way out. So the men tied themselves underneath the sheep. It worked, they got out, and then Odysseus ruined all of it. He could not resist. He stood up and shouted his real name across the water. Not nobody. His name, his father's name, and the island he was going home to. Now the blind giant knew exactly who to complain about, and his father was Poseidon, god of the sea. The exact sea Odysseus needed to cross to get home. The giant asks his father for one thing. Let him get home late, alone, and to a house full of trouble. Every single word of that comes true. One shout, 10 years, 600 men. One real-world note before we stop. There are dwarf elephant skulls on Sicily and Crete. The nose hole sits dead center and looks exactly like one giant eye socket. Dig one up with no idea what an elephant is, and you have got yourself a Cyclops. That is part 1. In part 2, the god of the sea starts collecting. A bag of winds, a witch, an island of giants, and a trip to talk to the dead. And the ghost who tells him exactly how a war hero gets murdered on his first night home. Part 2 is up next. Go and watch it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a new one. This has been Bill. See you in the next video.